Right, okay, just another video. This time we're going to look at factorising using two factorising techniques, both of which you've seen before. Okay, so I'll just talk through this example here and hopefully this will help you out. So, I'll talk through that one first. Okay, so to begin with, when you're factorising, the first thing that you always look for is a common factor. Hopefully you can see here that we have a common factor of 3, so I'm going to take out 3 as a common factor. And that's going to get me 3 times x squared, take away 9 in the bracket. Now, a lot of people will stop there because you have in fact factorised. You've changed the expression into an expression with brackets, and essentially when you're factorising, that's what you want to do. However, we can actually take this a wee step further, and I'll just show you that here. Inside the bracket here, you can maybe see that I actually have a difference of 2 squares, okay, and I'm just going to write that out nice and clear so that you can see that it is difference of 2 squares. So this maybe hasn't really been explained in previous videos, but when we talk about difference of 2 squares as a factorising technique, that's exactly what it is. You're looking for 2 things that are squared being taken away from each other. So x squared, well, that's clearly a squared term. 3 squared, yep, again, that's a squared term, and we're taking them away, so that's where the saying difference of 2 squares comes from. Okay, so we don't forget the 3 outside the bracket, that stays with us, that's part of the factorisation, and now we just factorise this bracket here that we've been factorising difference of 2 squares. So whatever the first thing squared is the first thing in each bracket, and whatever the second thing squared is the second thing in each bracket, and then it's just a plus and a minus. Okay, you can put the minus first and then the plus, it doesn't matter. That would be the answer there. Now, the good thing about factorising is we can actually check it very easily. So it's a wee bit more complicated because of this 3, but I can actually check this. So if I keep the 3 there, I'm just going to use square brackets here because I'm going to have some curly brackets when I multiply this out. So multiplying out this set of double brackets, I'm going to have the first thing in the first bracket times the second bracket, the second thing in the first bracket times the second bracket. So another way to say that, probably a bit more concise way to say that, is everything in that first bracket is multiplying the second bracket. Okay, so again, not forgetting the 3 into a set of square brackets, multiplying out now the single brackets. We're going to get that. Now, whenever you do difference of 2 squares and you factorise and then you multiply the bracket to check, what you'll find is that the middle 2 terms will combine to be 0, okay? So we're going to have 3x squared, negative 3x plus 3x is 0, take away 9. I don't really need the square brackets anymore, I could have drawn them as curly brackets, but keeping the square brackets just to keep it in line with the previous line. So although that's a set of square brackets, we are just going to multiply everything inside the bracket by 3, so we'll get 3x squared to take away 27. And you can see that's exactly what we had when we started. And please remember that when you do factorise, you never change the expression. You just write it out in a different format, i.e. in brackets. Okay, the next example I want to do is one that's quite commonly missed and a wee bit more tricky. So let's go for yeah, okay, so 5 minus, what will we go for? 20 x squared. Okay, so this one is a wee bit tricky, but again, I'll take my time and I'll go through it. So again, what we're going to do to begin with is we're going to look for a common factor, which we've got. And when we take the 5 out as a common factor, we end up with 1 minus 4x squared. Now, this is a wee bit more tricky because it's maybe not instantly recognisable as difference of two squares. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it so that it's maybe as nice and obvious. So I can write 1 out as 1 squared, so that's definitely something squared. Take away 4x squared, I could write as 2x all squared. So if I squared everything inside that bracket, the 2 and the x, I would get 4x squared. So now hopefully you can see it's difference of two squares. One thing squared, take away another thing squared. So again, keeping the 5 outside, we don't lose that. It's part of the factorisation. Double brackets now. The first thing squared is the first thing in each bracket. The second thing squared is the second thing in each bracket, and then a plus and a minus. And again, I could go on and I could multiply that bracket out and I would get back to 5 minus 20x squared.